I'm still thinking up on some train and derailing puns, so I'll get back to you on that throughout this review. Welcome action fans, thank you so much for clicking on this review. David Leitch brings us Bullet Train, which finds unlucky assassin Ladybug, played by Brad Pitt, determined to do his job peacefully after one too many gigs go off the rails. That is a pun on the filmmaker's official synopsis, not mine. Fate, however, may have other plans, as Ladybug's latest mission puts him on a collision course with lethal adversaries from around the globe, all with connected yet conflicting objectives on the world's fastest train. This is the kind of movie that you get when you mix the director of John Wick with a style that is reminiscent of early 2000s Guy Ritchie. You put on top of that the energy of a 70s or 80s Eastern Kung Fu movie and a stellar, charismatic cast from all eras of Hollywood and from all around the acting world. The result is Bullet Train, a bombastic action set piece that goes on at high speeds for 2 hours, unrelenting in its aspirations, but also very modest in its aspirations. It's the kind of film that knows exactly what it wants to deliver to an audience. It wants to entertain, it wants you to experience adrenaline, and it wants to inject some humor that is delivered with the charisma and charm of all these actors. And in that regard, the film very much succeeds if you are a fan of this genre and the stylistic changes and shifts that a director such as David Leitch, an historian when it comes to action on film, can deliver. But before I keep going with my thoughts on Bullet Train, I need you to start a conversation about it in the comments below. Your thoughts on the film, who is your favorite character, and if you love movies and TV, this is the place to be. So consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Now let's talk about David Leitch, the action director. He injects so much energy and vibrancy and even color into every shot in this film. This could almost be an anime come to life, and in many aspects, not just in terms of the action that unfolds on screen, but sometimes the not so well balanced tone can feel very much like you're watching an anime or even a cartoon in live action. Leitch found a visually dazzling way to capture his own hyper-stylized version of Tokyo and the inside of the Bullet Train. Neon-drenched visuals are all over this film, be it the grimy streets of Tokyo or the luxurious inside of first class on the Bullet Train. I'm a sucker for a neon-lit shot, so a lot of these visuals worked for me, and that is in a lot of ways thanks to director David Leitch, who once again injects a lot of style into this film. For all the kooky action, the kooky characterizations, the quirky people we find throughout this film, he made sure this film is not just another action film. There are no characters like these that these actors brought to life on screen. There's no action like this set inside the Bullet Train, and even the over-the-top elements of the film that can sometimes take away from the experience for me, and I'm sure a lot of you, it's still unique to this film. Both its qualities and its faults are unique to Bullet Train, and I like that David Leitch did a lot of that in his directions just through visuals, with his style, with his adrenaline fueled action, which is awesome. I'm a big fan of the action in this film. It very much brings over what he gave us with John Wick when it comes to the mano-a-mano combat, but everything around these characters when they're going at it one-on-one, sometimes two-on-one, everything's just dialed up to 11 when it comes to the insanity, visually speaking, of this film. Particularly in the third act, there's a moment that once it happens, I think it can lose a lot of people. I personally was all in. I know some people think this film kind of derails in the third act. There's a literal derailing, but the film itself, I think it keeps very much on track. And that's my one pun regarding trains in this film. And along with that style and with that bombastic action that, as I said, goes over the top, and even when it does, it's very gory. This film is rated R for a reason. It brings on the blood, the violence, the profanity from these characters that they deliver with such vivacious lines that it feels like only these actors could deliver in a film as stylized as this, with hyper-violence that I appreciate. I love my violence on screen when it comes to action. This film has that violence. It has that profanity. It has one moment of nudity, and that's really it. It's just focused on that violence, particularly when Hiroyuki Sanada comes on screen and massacres fools. And it's awesome. Furthermore, when it comes to this violence, it's not just badass, gory violence, it's also very humoristic violence, as the film has all these moments of blood and visually gnarly stuff happening. But when it comes to the character of Brad Pitt, he commits a ton of atrocious, heinous violence by accident that he didn't want to commit. So it's just funny to see this character execute the most heinous atrocities to another human being, but without that intention, and feeling bad for it. And it's just that kind of humor that really works and allows this film to have that distinct identity when it comes to this style of hyper-stylized action. Bullet Train takes care of all the possible puns me and so many other critics could have used to make fun of it. There's a character in this film played by Brian Tyree Henry named Lemon, and we'll get to that in a bit, who just looks at people, reads people, and experiences life, bringing it all back to how it connects to Thomas the Tank Engine. That is true. If that's not the type of humor you enjoy just by my description, maybe you won't enjoy the humor in this film, which I thought was really fun, particularly because of how it is delivered by these actors, bringing these characters to life. They are so much fun to watch. The interactions are so unique, whether you're talking about Tangerine interacting with Lemon, Ladybug interacting with Tangerine, or interacting with Lemon. You got the White Death, played by Michael Shannon at one point. You got Hiroyuki Sanada playing the Elder, and he is fucking awesome. This man is a treasure, and he doesn't bring a lot of the humor to the film. He brings more of the somber realism, if you can call it that, but everyone else is just injecting humor and fun into this film. Even Zazie Beetz and even Bad Bunny, who is not on screen a lot, and an actor he is not, but this film uses him very well. The humor in general just really works. It is that typical Guy Ritchie sardonic sense of humor, sometimes even very dark humor spread throughout this film that I personally enjoy, particularly when characters are self-aware about the terrible things they do or say or think. That's when the humor is mostly elevated for me. Even when the film kind of tries to pass on some philosophical themes about destiny and luck, I don't think the themes are incremental to the film working. I don't think they're very well injected into the thematic through line of the narrative, but they kind of lend to the humor to how kind of dumb it really is. And when it comes to the cast and characters, everyone is having a blast. Everyone is doing a stellar job. I already talked about Hiroyuki Sanada. Everyone's great, really. I love Brad Pitt playing this guy who's trying to work through his own psychological stuff, trying to help everyone else around him who is killing him. There's some very fun mishaps that happen because all these characters kind of want the same thing, but they don't know who each other is, and so they stumble on being in conflict with one another. I kind of like that happenstance conflict because of the tone of the film. Everyone is getting in each other's way, but everyone just wants to get this job done with, and everyone feels like they're in this streak of bad luck that I really appreciated. And Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, these two on screen are electric. I need Hollywood to put these two in more movies together, whether they're playing brothers or friends or even enemies. I cannot even imagine the chemistry of these two if they're playing opposites on a buddy cop movie. There's also some really fun cameos throughout this that I did not expect. I went into this film not even having seen trailers. I didn't properly know the plot. I knew there were assassins, I know they were all in Bullet Train, but I didn't know details, so these cameos put a smile on my face. They're simple, they're inoffensive, they're very tongue-in-cheek, just like the entire film is, and that I appreciated. When it comes to the characters, however, the film falls very flat in terms of characterization. It feels like these characters are nothing more than a vessel for their objectives, the ones that are written in the script, and they become vessels for these actors to bring to life. And that's kind of what captures Bullet Train in all its qualities and all its faults. It feels like too much of a good thing, where all its good elements are so much that they kind of start to crack and show the real faults of the film. Where the actors are fantastic, the characters are quite literally paper thin. They're nothing more than what is written on the pages. It's what they want, then these actors found ways to inject certain quirks and unique personality traits, the way they fight, the way they eat, the way they look around, and notice some really weird things around this train and what they prioritize in terms of their goal and in terms of accomplishing their goals. It's all these actors. It doesn't really feel like anything from it comes from the script. It feels like David Leitch got this collection of fantastic actors, saw that they worked together with one another, and said, have fun. That works for the film very well, but it doesn't allow this to be a truly great film, and I don't think the film was interested in that. But it's important to point out. Furthermore, while the action is bombastic and goes extremely over the top, not too over the top, just over the top enough for you to accept it, as you need to take some suspension of disbelief with you to the theater to watch this. Between action beats, this film doesn't really know what it wants to be, doesn't really know what to do with itself or with its characters, again, because everything is so paper thin. This assassin ladybug who has been on a streak of bad luck is trying to live a peaceful life, and then it's just Brad Pitt who brings him to life with a ton of energy that I loved seeing on screen. Just his charisma, fully blown, electrifying every frame he's in. Character himself, every other character themselves, they're stylized, they're badass. The film is very inspired visually when it comes to the names of these characters, when it comes to presenting these characters by classic East cinema. Old kung fu movies from the 70s, 80s, even some Japanese cinema from the 2000s. But apart from that, all the style, all the action, that it in itself elevates and makes this film a ton of fun, kind of reveals the cracks within, where the story in itself as well is just very convoluted, particularly once you get all the pieces in play, once you realize what is actually happening with all these people. Just feels like too unnecessarily complicated for what characters wanted to achieve. It just feels like we went the most roundabout way to achieve these very simple goals. Bullet Train, it's exactly the kind of film you want to see in the cinema in August during the height of the summer. You want that bombastic action that almost leaps off the screen, that is inherently silly with a premise like this, and you want the film to take full advantage of it. By going over the top, the film takes full advantage of it with excellent actors that bring their full charisma and charm and energy to screen and just give you a delightful experience that is exciting, it's adrenaline fueled, it's bloody too, but it's a ton of fun. Bullet Train is just a blast. It can feel like too much of a good thing with an all-around stellar cast and bombastic action, but a script that falters in characterization, feeling lost and uneven between those excellent action beats. There is a Japanese rendition of Holding Out for a Hero, and that kind of redeems all its sins. Just kidding, it doesn't. I'm giving Bullet Train a B. That's my review of Bullet Train, but I need you to let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. What is your favorite scene? Who was your favorite character? Anything and everything down there. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with a ton more reviews that I'm so excited to share. And big thanks to my channel members for always supporting this channel. So until the next one, love each other, and love the movies.